Hello and welcome to Spiza. So today's video is on making an apple pie from scratch. Listen to the video very carefully as I'm going to be sharing a lot of tips and tricks and minute details on how to make your very first apple pie a brilliant success. The list of ingredients is mentioned on the description box. Chop in 5 large apples. Cube 200 grams of salted butter. 3 cups of Maida. 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder, 8 tablespoons of water, half a cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice and 2 teaspoons of cornflour. In a large mixing bowl, let's add 3 cups of Maida and then I'm adding very cold butter. This is a very important point because the butter has to be right out of the fridge and cold. As you can see, I am using a dough cutter to just cut the butter into the flour like this. If you do not have a dough cutter, you can always use a ladle which has a sharp corner like this and cut the butter into very small pieces. Once you can see there are no lumps of butter, then using your hand, just mix the dough or the flour very gently. Next, I'm going to add 6 to 8 tablespoons of cold water. As you can see, I have added some ice cubes to ensure that the water is really cold when I'm mixing. So it depends on the quality of Maida. Some Maida do absorb a lot of water, so you might require up to 8 tablespoons. So you'll have to keep adding water until it reaches the right consistency. As you can see, I'm not kneading the dough, but I'm just mixing in the water. This will take about 2 to 3 minutes. Ensure that the water and the butter are really cold when we are mixing in, as this is a secret tip to ensure that you get those nice flaky crust. So as you can see, I am not kneading it. I'm repeating, I'm not kneading it, but I'm just mixing it together. When I break it, you can see that the dough is flaky. Now the dough is smooth enough. So when it is as shown in the video, the dough is ready to be refrigerated. So now I'm going to put it in a clean Ziploc bag. You can also use any cover or any box to refrigerate it, and at least this has to be there for 20 to 30 minutes in the fridge. In the meantime, let's prepare the apple filling. So one important point you have to note is as soon as you cut the apple, I would suggest that you add 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of lemon juice and mix it well. This ensures that the apple doesn't darken, and secondly, it gives a wonderful flavor to the pie. Now I'm adding in half a cup of sugar. So sugar again is completely your choice. If your apple is too sweet and you don't really want to go on sugar, you can go ahead and reduce or increase the sugar as per your taste. Now I'm cooking this on low-medium flame. So this is going to take about 15 to 20 minutes for the entire process of this apple to get cooked. So as you can see, adding the sugar has given it a nice glossy look, and the water oozes out from the fruit as well as sugar. So let's keep cooking it until the water completely evaporates. So now you can see that there is no water. Water has almost evaporated. I'm just cutting it into 1 or 2 pieces because we need half of it a little mashed and the remaining nice chunky pieces. So now I'm adding in some cinnamon powder. So this again is as per your taste, but I would suggest never skip the cinnamon powder step because this is going to give an extraordinary flavor to your pie. So this is another secret ingredient, which is I'm adding 2 teaspoons of cornflour. This cornflour is going to remove any excess water or moisture in the apple, and it's going to ensure that my pie doesn't become soggy. As you can see, I'm just mashing it a little bit more. The apple has become soft and cooked really well, and now let's keep this aside. It took us half an hour to make the apple filling, and it's time to take the dough from the fridge. Now let's cut the dough into 2 parts of 2/3 and 1/3 each. The large portion will go to the base of the pie and the 1/3 portion for the top of the pie. Sprinkle some flour on the countertop and start rolling the dough with a rolling pin until it's lesser than a 1/4 inch thickness. I'm using an 8-inch pie tin. You can use any pie tin, pizza plate or any wide baking utensil for this. Let's keep the tin on top of the dough to see if it's large enough to be fitted into the tin. Ensure that even the sides would comfortably go into the tin. Let me show you how to beautifully remove the dough and place it in the tin now. Using a rolling pin, Roll the dough over it like this and then place it over the pie tin. So this ensures that the dough doesn't break when we are transferring it. Now press the corners very gently to the ends of the tin. Take your time to do a very neat job of this, as the outside of your pie will take this shape. Now it's important that we pierce some holes on the pie crust to ensure that the crust doesn't bubble up. So I'm using a fork like this and making some holes on even intervals. So let's cut out the extra portion of the dough using a scissors like this. We can use these cut out extra dough to be rolled with the top portion of the pie. So now we've cut out all the extra edges and our pie base is almost ready. So now let's move into making the top part. So this again, you might have seen a lot of videos on YouTube as well on how interesting you can make the top of the pie. So as simple as can be will be if you can make a circular or a round portion and then just cut out some small hearts or diamond shapes to it and you can press it directly to the top. But now I wanted to give it a woven mat kind of a look. So I am cutting it into strips like this and I'll show you how to weave it. So we are almost done. So now in the meantime, let's fill in the apple filling on the crust. If you have any additional apple filling, you can use it on another small tart bowl or something for which you can use the same dough. So now let's take the longest one and put it in the middle. I'll leave one and take the third like this. So we're going to keep placing the alternate ones on both sides like this. So we're going to alternatively run this piece over and below. The first one it went over, below the second, above the third, below the fourth, above the fifth and below the sixth. Since the first one went above the first, this time it's going to be below the first strip, above the second, below the third, above the fourth, below the fifth and above the sixth. Likewise, we're going to weave in the remaining strips. Just keep trying and I'm sure you'll be able to do this with ease. All you have to do is just run it below and above alternatively, just like how you will weave a mat. So as I told you, if you want a more simpler version, you can just roll it like a roti into a round flat top, and then you can either use a cookie cutter to cut some shapes out of it and paste. Otherwise, you can even just use a fork like how we did for the base and just pierce some holes to ensure that the top doesn't bubble up, and you can still go ahead and cover the top with that. So now we're almost done. So next we're going to cut out all these loose edges like how we did last time with the scissors. So all of these extra pieces you can either use to make a small tart cup and fill in any extra apple filling that you may have, but otherwise we can use this to decorate the pie. So now I'm sealing the edges really well. So you can now use a fork to give some design to the edges like this. So there are two benefits to it. First, it makes it look really nice. And secondly, it also seals the edges well. Let's make sure that it looks even on all sides. So now that we have a very little portion left, I'll just show you how to make very small roses out of this. So as you can see, I'm making a very nice long portion of this dough. So just keep flattening it until it becomes really long. And now let's cut it into 2 pieces and just roll the dough on the even edge. So let's do this to the other portion as well. Using your fingers, just gently open out the corners. And it is going to look just like a rose. So now this is ready. So I'm going to place it on one corner of the pie. So either you can give a egg white wash, or using a brush you can, even if you're vegetarian, you can use some milk and give it a wash on the top of the pie. But I have not done any of it and it just turned out perfectly fine. So I am going to now sprinkle a lot of cinnamon powder on top. This is going to give a real good flavor to the pie. So the pie is all done and all set to be baked. I'm placing it on the lower rack of my oven and will be baking it for 1 hour at 160 degrees. So this is as per my halogen oven setting. So I would suggest that you check with your manual and bake accordingly. So now the pie is ready. I'm sure you can't wait to taste, but let's give it a standing time of about 15 to 20 minutes before we transfer it to a serving plate. And here you go. A super flaky, crispy and a salty crust with an amazing filling is ready. So please do try and let us know how you liked it. As always, please do like, share, comment and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to get our notifications instantly.